create a new design in Tinkercad. And we're going to change the name to pawn. We're going to make a simple chess piece. Tinkercad works by manipulating primitive shapes into more complex shapes. We'll start by dragging a cylinder out. And if we tap the F key on the keyboard, it will focus in or zoom in on the object that's selected. We can see that the resolution is kind of rough here. You can see the individual lines encircling the cylinder. We can control that using this slider over here, and as we increase the sides, you can see the shape becomes smoother and smoother. And we can close those properties anytime we wish. So if we click the white square, we can see the dimensions are 20 by 20, and we can click up here to see that it's 20 millimeters tall. So this is in millimeters by default. We can change the shape by clicking and dragging any one of those squares. We can also click in the dimension box and type in a dimension. So I'll type in 5 and hit enter, and so this disk is now 5 millimeters tall. Now I'm going to drag out a cone shape and change the dimensions of the base to 15 by 15. And so what I did that time is I clicked on one dimension, typed the new number, and then hit the tab key, and it automatically moved to the other dimension. So I could type in 15 and hit enter as well. Now I can move this over and try to get it centered, by eyeballing it, moving the screen around. So to tilt the screen and move it around in this way on the Macintosh, I'm on a MacBook, a laptop. I'm holding down the control key and using the mouse pad to move the screen around. Now I can try to eyeball it in the center, but I won't be sure if it's in the middle. So instead what I'm going to do is click outside either of these shapes so that neither one is selected. Then I'm going to click and drag a bounding box to select both shapes. You can see I've got two shapes selected here. And up at the top I'm going to click the group icon. Oh, excuse me, I don't want to do that yet. So I undo that, click and drag to select both, and what I want to do first is to click the align icon. So I can align it from front to back and from side to side, and then I can click group, and I've got the shape is now one single shape. Now I can ungroup at any time just by clicking on it on the shape and clicking ungroup. So in this case, and now I'm clicking off because I want to select just the cone and I want to raise it up a little bit more. So let's say 30. Again, I'll select both and group. So I've got a shape there. So going back and forth is no problem. You shouldn't worry about it. So because it occurs to me that for the pawn shape, I'd like to have an inverted cone as the top part. So I could drag out another cone, rotate it, and put it up there. But I want to show you another feature. So I'm going to select the shape, ungroup, click to deselect everything, click on just the cone, and what I'm going to do is go up on this side and click duplicate. So it doesn't look like anything happened, but in fact a second cone, a copy of the first cone, was placed immediately on top of the existing cone. And so by default, the copy is selected. So anything I do to this shape will apply only to that second duplicate copy. So I reposition the model so that I can see these curvy arrows. I'm going to click and drag. This will allow me to rotate the shape. And if you move your mouse outside of the increments, you can move 1 degree at a time. If you move it in, it will click to predetermined increments. So if I want it to be exactly 180, I can do that. I could also just click in and type minus 180 there. So that looks okay, except that I don't want that top area to be quite that large. So I'm going to click in here and type in 10, tab 10. And now I need to click outside and select everything and realign everything. And then take a look. Okay, well, it's looking a little better. I'm going to click this top cone, and I'm going to click on this black arrow that's pointing up, because that'll allow me to move the entire shape up and down without changing its dimensions. So I'm going to move it down to about here. That looks good. Now you'll notice that the point of the inverted cone is sticking out of the bottom, so we're going to want to cut that off at some point. But for now, I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm going to go ahead and group everything so I can get a better idea of what it's looking like. Okay, so far so good. So now I'm going to drag out a sphere, and I'm going to make that 10 by 10 and 10 millimeters tall. Remember, this black arrow here will lift an object up or lower it down. So I'm going to lift it up a bit and then click and select everything, choose align and click outside. So now it's directly above this first shape. So again, I can click on the sphere at this point and start lowering it down to see what it looks like. If I want to get a closer look, remember I can tap on the F key and it will zoom right in on the selected shape, in this case the sphere. So that looks pretty good. I would like it a tad lower, but it jumps too much. I'd like it in between there. So the reason it's sort of snapping to different heights is because the grid, you notice the snap grid at the bottom, is set to 1 millimeter. So if I click that and choose off, I'll now be able to move this smoothly up and down to exactly where I want it to be. Okay, again, I'll select everything and group it. All right, looks pretty good, except a couple things. So I'm going to ungroup and ungroup again, because this ring here looks a little too tall. So I'm going to bring it down, let's say 4. How's that look proportionally? Still a little bit. What about 3? Yeah, okay, I'll call it good. So now I'll reselect everything and group it. Okay. All right. Again, notice that I've got some stuff on the bottom there that I want to get rid of. So actually, I'm noticing when I'm going to undo, because if I do a front view and I do the graphic and zoom in, notice that somehow I've lifted the piece up off of the bed. So I'm going to click that and group, click this, And now I could move this down. You notice again, I use the black arrow to move it up or down, and I could try to get it flat, but I don't know, what's flat should be 0. It's hard to do, but I could just type in 0 here and hit enter, and it'll drop it down. But there's a shortcut too. If you select an object and you just hit the D key on the keyboard, it will drop it down flat on the print bed or the work table. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so now I still need to cut off that bottom piece. Actually, I'll go ahead and group all that. And notice it turns blue this time, but you can always change the color to any color you want. So now to get rid of that shape on the bottom, I'll switch back to perspective view. Looks a little bit more normal. These first 2 shapes are cutouts, but you're not limited to that, to those things. You can use any shape as a cutout. Any shape can become a hole, essentially. So if I drag this shape out, for instance, I can change the color, but I could also turn it into a negative or a cutout or a hole. And I'm just going to make it big enough that it will cover what I need to cut out. Now, if I just combine it here, if I select everything and group it, right, it cuts out the middle, which I don't want to do. But I want to drop this down underneath so that it will just cut off that bottom piece. I'm going to undo this because I'm going to click on the object and see how tall it is. So it's 20 millimeters tall. So now if I start dragging it down and then I click over here and type in -20, I know that it will be precisely flush to the bottom of the work plane there. So let me put it at an angle so you can see what's happening. And if I click and select both of these things and choose group, I now have a clean, flat bottom. All right, we'll call it good. Now, to export this model so that I can print it, I click on Export, choose STL, and it exports the model. Now, if I go look in my Downloads folder, you can tell I did a version before. Here's the second one, the most recent one. There it is. So now this is the model that I would bring into Flash Print and slice and print. So let's do that. I would open up Flash Print, File, Load File. That's the second one that I want, second pawn. There it is. Okay. I check to see that the model is flat on the build surface, right? So you see the dark blue. So there's no gap there. Pretty simple model, so if I click Start Slicing, I don't really have to make any changes here. These defaults should be good. So I'll click Slice, and then I can click Slice Preview to get a preview of what it looks like. It shows the skirt in red that gets printed first. I can use the layer slider to go down layer by layer and see exactly what's being printed. So it prints the bottom, then it prints some infill, then it prints the top of the bottom piece, and it keeps printing the infill on the central part of the pawn all the way up to the sphere at the top. The estimate for this print is 14 minutes. So that sounds good. I can click to save the file locally to a thumb drive, which I can plug into, or a SD card, which I can plug into the machine and then print. So I'm just going to save it locally. I'll leave it as Pawn 2, Downloads, and there we go. Now I can copy that file to an SD card or USB drive, depending on what my machine accepts, and plug it in and print. And then once the print is done, you can post the print, a picture of the print, and a screenshot of your Tinkercad file on the class page. In fact, you don't have to do a screenshot. You can choose send to, and one of the options is picture of your design. So if you download locally, okay, close that, and then if I go to downloads again, you'll notice that there's a PNG file here. So a nice clean shot of your model.